Hi everyone, just here for another video. If you have watched the other two I did, it was basically about a theory I had about each race and culture having its own fairy, and that fairy being more compatible um, with them for communication in a more of a benevolent, peaceful way, and that the idea that you can kind of worship and venerate these beings by giving them offerings and a little attention and still get on with your own life in peace without having conflict. And in return, you can receive protection, maybe. I mentioned briefly the spirit houses in Thailand and stuff like that. And I also touched upon the Abrahamic religions that, maybe these fairy or the jinn or whatever is behind them are hateful against the human race because maybe they've been abandoned in the past, like their peaceful relations were broken, and now they're almost seeking revenge on their human subjects. They hate their human subjects, and they maybe don't trust humans anymore, and they want to enslave uh, people and maybe humanity. Um, and this is interesting because the Abrahamic religions, they want to um, strip the subject of their pagan roots, like, as you know, almost strip them of their pagan soul. So the title of the video in my mind is, the fight for the tribal soul. It does seem, doesn't it, when you look at the world, we seem to be fighting for roots, from nationalism to tradition, and you go back to the Abrahamic times of the Bible, and you're looking at this dark god they're following. It's just uprooting kind of anyone in its way, and has no respect for their tradition. And kind of some films kind of came to mind while I was just thinking about it, like classic films, kind of telling the same story, and it's interesting that it's in a lot of films, um, but it's perceived in a well, the Bible sees it in a positive light, apparently, or people who believe in that in the Old Testament, that we're dealing with a benevolent God. But there's a lot of films that tell the same kind of story. They're basically saying the same thing, but they're saying it in a more honest, truthful way, I think. And just a few on the top of my head come to mind, like Lord of the Rings, and it's kind of obvious. Like, you have you have the orcs that were apparently elves that were kind of turned and twisted with kind of dark magic. It's almost like they were possessed. It's almost like their souls were taken, and then they're just, well, I don't know, whatever was left of their bodies, they were used as soldiers to fight. And the and Sauron, the dark magician, and the if that's his name, and the all-seeing eye, and the ring, the one ring to rule them all. Again, it's kind of like a total enslavement of humanity. Kind of just kind of very similar to the God of the Bible, right? Another one that briefly comes to mind is, if you haven't watched it, is Conan, the original with Schwarzenegger. And I maybe want to do a few videos just specifically on that, actually, because it's quite a deep film when you look at it. And it's basically, Conan was a pagan himself whose parents were killed in front of him, and his people were wiped out by this character, Thulsa Doom, um, played by James Earl Jones, I believe, a coloured actor who played it really well. But to me, the more I watch that film, this Thulsa Doom character, he's almost like the living embodiment of Jehovah or Yahweh or Allah, the dark god. He acts that way, and he's the same. He just wants to destroy all these cultures and just have everybody under his command. and destroy their identity, you know. So it's just same thing there, really. And then the big one that come to mind was 300. And when I watched this film first, I didn't kind of quite get it. It seems, I don't know. I thought it was maybe a bit kind of political, religious kind of, maybe right wing. I didn't quite kind of get it. I had to watch it a few times, and then I watched it like, when I say recently, like when I was a bit more kind of clued in, and it really clicked, and I really like it now. And it's basically this, you know, the same. The title of this video, you know, basically, the fight for the tribal soul. That's really the story of these Greek soldiers. Is they're fighting for their people and for the identity of their tribal soul. They're fighting for their ancestors, the future of their children, and everything. Because this king wants to, you know, wipe them out. So it's and it's based on a true story. You probably know. If you like this kind of films that I like, if you haven't seen it, give it a watch, and I think it's an eye opener. Um, so basically, it's based on an ancient Greek legend or a battle that was fought by Leonidas, I think, of Sparta, or the Spartan army, and then you have this king. Oh God, how do I pronounce his name? Xerxes, I think it's King Xerxes, who was this Persian king. It's always said to be like a god king, and apparently he's a real character in the Bible, which is interesting. And I think he's called the King of Kings in there. And so, but what really gets me is when you watch this film. This king, he's not human. Like, it's very clear that he's possessed. I think that's really the general gist that you get. And also his minions as well, like his chiefs, they are also possessed. There's scenes in the film where the eyes, they glow, like you can see the demon in there coming out. And he's saying all you have to do, like he was saying to the you know, the lead character of the Greek army. Got his name again. Doesn't matter. You know who I mean. He was saying to him, "You have a great army. You have a great culture here." And he just was saying, you know, like if you just bend your knee and you just submit, I'll be kind, you know. But you can lead armies because I need your skill. But if you don't, you'll regret it because you'll be overpowered because we've got too many. I've got too many men, you know, that I command. And I just thought, well, Islam means to submit, doesn't it? And it converts everybody, and then so did Christianity. And it is kind of clear that this character, he is possessed. Again, he's almost like the living embodiment of Jehovah or Yahweh or Allah. That's how he would come across, you know, a real honest version of the dark God of the Old Testament, right? And something come to mind when I was thinking of that film and thinking of their eyes was in the Bible was Exodus, when Moses goes up to the mountain, it's Mount Sinai, and then to receive the Ten Commandments, and then comes down and it says his face or eyes are ablaze, and the Israelites looked at him and they saw that he's changed and they were too afraid to actually go near him. So maybe his eyes are all possessed or something like that. Maybe he was possessed. This god or whatever it was has gone into him. Yeah, and it makes me think of the 300 film. And it's funny actually because there's a another film called 300: The Rise of an Empire. And that was in 2014. It's a few years after, and it was about the birth of oh, what's his name again? Xerxes, the God King. And it said that in the story, this is just a film, right? But it's uncanny because it said in the film how he became who he was. He was a mortal man, like a young king or something, and then they got all the best, gathered all the best priests, wizards, and mystics, and they wrapped him up in Sumerian gauze dipped in ancient potions, and just sent him to wander the desert alone until he became delirious and deluded, and he found a cave with a hermit in. And it said that he passed like all the empty souls, or the empty blackness of his own soul, and he became completely submersed in his own blackness, and he completely surrendered himself to a power that was so evil and perverse. And as he emerged, there wasn't any part of him that was human at all. And then he was this God King, and it just reminds me of Moses and the Mount Sinai, and the eyes ablaze and all of that. Because in that film, you're not in that film 300. You're not dealing with something that's human. With that God King and all of his minions, like the chiefs, they're not human anymore. They've been taken over by this force that's controlling them, that wants to dominate the whole world and convert almost every soldier or every soul. And it's interesting because within that army you can see, yeah, there's Persians, but there's also like Japanese warriors, there's samurai warriors in there, and they have the skill, they have their swordcraft, but they're no longer them. They're no longer their culture. Obviously, they no longer have their allegiance to their ancestors or their honor. They've just basically submitted to worldly powers, like territory, women, money. That's really the gist of it. There's even a character there who's a hunchback kind of character that actually wanted to be part of the Greek army, part of the Spartan army, but he couldn't. So he actually submitted to Xerxes the king, and yeah, it's very. I just think it's very biblical. It's maybe an honest interpretation. If you watch it, you can maybe see like that's maybe an honest interpretation of the dark god of the Old Testament, and just destroying the pagan soul, and yeah, and obviously you can see this going on in modern times, just in a different way, can't you? But so just another video I thought I'd do just before I forget. And yeah, if you haven't seen it, and if you like these kind of films, watch 300, but watch it with open eyes, and maybe kind of you'll see where I'm coming from. All right, okay, guys, I'll catch you later. Take care.